Welcome to Discovery Metal Legion, and welcome to another episode of Discovery, episode 72 I think, yes. Anyway, time for the cold open. It's been a great month for metal and I got 8 brand new releases to talk to you guys about. We got mainly black metal. It's mainly just a black metal show today, some experimental black metal, but we also got some death metal. But we are focusing on black and death metal today on Discovery. I'm looking at the list and there's just basically black and death metal. Black metal has been fantastic this month, and so has death metal. Intense releases this week. We had some experimental avant-garde black metal this week as well, and we also had the most brutal death metal album of the year I've heard, the most craziest, frantic death metal album I've heard. It is up there with Artificial Brain in my opinion. But on the other hand, also went to Amity Affliction concert. That was a really good concert. Been listening to some of their material and I think they're a pretty solid metalcore band. They do play around with a lot of alternative stuff, but overall it was a very fun concert. So that was the only concert that I went to last week, and I thought it was fantastic. The breakdowns hit hard live. Amity Affliction are a very good Australian band hailing from Brisbane, I think. They all played all the classics as well. They played the newest shit. The newest shit is quite poppy, especially the choruses, but overall this was a very fun concert. So that's enough of the cold open. Let's get on with this brand new Discovery. Roll the intro, please. So we're diving deep into black metal now. Now Elseetoss released a brand new album called Preagonal. This album is none other than a melodic black metal album mixed with doom along with just intense black metal. Elseetoss really do change their sound. Like the debut album was more post-black metal. This is more on the atmospheric black metal side of things. The bar is raised in my opinion. In my opinion, this is a lot better than their debut album. I felt that the debut album slightly dragged a bit, but this album is quite fierce and in your face. This is fantastic overall. Like the vocals, I have that black metal aesthetic. There are also some vicious vocals on this, which really escalates the album into the next caliber. Elseetoss has created an album that is quite atmospheric and quite in your face and profoundly evil sounding. This is one of the most devilish evil sounding albums for Elseetoss I've ever heard. I was incredibly surprised with this. I thought that this was going to be another post-black metal album, but they have changed their sound dramatically. They really have. And this is a different approach by Elseetoss. Like I didn't expect. When I heard their debut album, I thought they were going towards the more Agalog and Alcest direction, but holy shit, this album just punches you right in the face. Of course, they do play around with doom metal on this slow, doomy side of things. Like track 1 is so damn intense and so damn in your face. Love the black metal vocals on there, but they really slow things down throughout track 4. And I tell you what, there is some fucking great solos on this LP as well. Running about 46 minutes. Like this is a pretty sharp, hard-hitting black metal album, and it is such a surprise. It really is. And there was just a lot of oomph on this brand new Elseetoss LP, and I welcome the change. I welcome the energetic aggression you were getting on their sophomore album. This Tennessee band are going to kick goals in the near future, and I thought this album was absolutely spectacular. In my opinion, this is better than the debut album. There is just so much emotion sprinkled throughout this LP, and there are just some amazing guitar riffs, tremolo pickings. The drumming is absolutely spectacular on this. The vocals really enhance the listener's experience. Even they incorporate doom metal elements. They play around with melodic black, atmospheric black, just raw aggression as well. But I do love how they do play around with the production. I don't know if they've noticed it, but the album sounds a lot rawer than their debut album. So overall, Elseetoss, Preagonal, whatever, I'm going to give this an 88%, a solid black metal album through and through. I need a few more listens as well. I've heard it a few times, and there's just so much to digest within this album, and I feel like that I'm going to play this LP quite a lot over and over again to understand the meaning, to understand just everything about it. Really did enjoy Elseetoss Preagonal. So it's going to get a solid 88%. Okay, so next up is an album that really surprised me in the month of July. It's none other than Mantar, Pain is Forever, and This is the End. This is a very fun album. They do play around with punk, they do play around with sludge, they do play around with post-black metal, and none other than black metal itself. This is just a fun, exciting, intense album overall. Really enjoy the vocals. The vocals have this very snarly, nasty tone to it. This album's rich and it's quite complex as well, and there are just some very fun songs. But overall, it's a pretty feel-good album, such a finely calibrated album. And I love the stylistic approach to it. It's playing around with a lot of punk on this. I'm not a really big fan of punk, but I do love how punk is influenced on this. And it's such an ambitious LP overall. This is the first time I've heard of Mantar, and I thought it was such a very good album. Quite successful to what it's trying to deliver to the listener. The production is quite textured, like you hear every single instrumental. Hang 'Em Low is such a fun, energetic, pulse-pounding song. Songs like Grim Reaping is amazing. Of Frost and Decay, Walking Corpse, they do play around with that texturalized sludge metal as well. It's quite a murky sort of sounding album, but it works overall. The vocals are black metal in all its glory. Songs like Walking Corpse, New Age Pagan, Harder, Odysseus really play around with that sludge blackened metal sound with a lot of punk flourishing flavors. Yeah, I really enjoyed Mantar, Pain is Forever, and This is the End. This is a very different sounding album to a lot of albums that I've heard this month. It's one of the albums that have stood out in 2022 in my opinion. It's not paint by numbers. So overall, Pain is Forever and This is the End. Mantar, production's fantastic. Black metal is present on this, and I do love the punk influences. It's going to get a solid 85%. Okay, so next up is Hissing, Hypervirulence, Architecture. Alright, so what can I say? This is a pretty aggressive brutal death metal album, and they do play around with a lot of brutal death on this, mixed with death metal, along with elements of blackened death metal, especially the guitar riffs, especially the overall drumming as well. But the vocals are very aggressive in tone, and it's got that guttural deep growls that you expect from death metal and such as brutal death metal. It's grandiose in size. Like, this is a very big production sounding album, but it has a raw undertone to it. Really enjoy how primal this album sounds, but it's quite progressive. There's so many technical elements and so many dissonant melodies that do really question, what the fuck am I listening to at times? Instrumentals are fantastic. This is not a cohesive album. No way. There are just absolutely batshit crazy songs. But it's a very complex album, and you gotta respect this Seattle band. Throbbing thunderous percussion with just dizzying guitar solo, with just dizzying guitar riffs. Like there are just so many dizzying elements on this. Trailblazing, in your face, batshit, ball breaking time. Hypervirulence architecture is. I love how satisfying this album sounds, especially once you get to the end. You know you've experienced such an intense ear assault, and you know you can experience again anytime you want. This is a pretty tight album that will transport you into a sort of different dimension, a sort of a gory, cavernous, eerie, zombie-like dimension. Some of the songs are just so damn hectic. Thousand on Being, like an Operant Extinction, Intrusion, what a heavy song that is. And you got songs like Meltdown, holy shit, to end off the album. This album only runs 38 minutes, but it's a batshit crazy fucking 38 minutes. So go check out Hissing Hypervirulence architecture if you like that brutal death metal sound. Yeah, thunderous percussion. I'm gonna give this a 80%. Okay, so next up is surprise, the black metal band Shadows Mortuary. Really play around with that darkness, atmospheric, misanthropy sound. It's none other than Shadows Mortuary and the album Unohdettu Ma. So yeah, this is pretty intense, atmospheric black metal albums, quite melodic in tone, and the riffs on here just slap hard. They do play around with piercing guitar riffs, some interesting synthesizers that really build up the atmosphere. I do really enjoy the hooks on this, and the vocals have that very high shriek with a few death metal growls along the way, but mainly just harsh and aggressive shrieks that you expect from black metal. At times, it's a pretty emotionally charged album as well, just because there's just so much hatred and darkness on this album. It's a very evil sounding album, very cleverly written album, but it is still quite a digestible album. It's quite rhythmic, it's quite riveting, and I just love the saturated atmosphere on this LP, but it has a raw production. It's not as raw as the next album I'm gonna mention, but it has a raw production, which you really do appreciate. The drums do really hit hard on this, but it's got that element of rawness. Yeah, this is fucking raw. Seems like Finnish black metal this year is out of this world. We've had some great Finnish black metal this year, and this is no fucking exception. For Shadows Mortuaries, I'm going to give this a solid 78%. The reason why it's a little bit low is because I have heard stuff a lot like this. They do play around with atmosphere. At times they do sound intense and in your face, and there is an unexpected turn, but the hooks really are very catchy on this. It just reminds you at times like the album this year that we saw with Catharos. Now Catharos, Lineages of the Forgotten, I think it was called, was fantastic. They really played with the symphonic black metal on this. This is less symphonic, you could say, but it's just got that raw element of black metal that a lot of people fucking love. And nowadays, a lot of people don't really like the modern black metal production, but this has a raw undertone to it, which I really do enjoy. It's a very fun black metal album, so definitely check out Shadows Mortuary. Okay, so we're heading to some USBM now. It's Night of the Blood by Fellwinter. So this is pretty raw black metal. It's raw black metal, it's in your face, and there are some beautiful melodies that really do get stuck in your head. And I just really do enjoy the folkier elements on this. It just sounds like you're in a war at times. Invigorating album through and through. Just definitely tells a story. It's an emotionally rich LP as well. But yeah, the production is raw as fuck and it works over all the buzzing Berzames guitars you are getting. The riffs are there, the riffs are really catchy, and the vocals are very piercing to your ears, which really works overall. Yeah, it may sound like it may sound like it comes from a potato, but this is very raw black metal for 2022. If you like that raw black metal sound with some traditional folkier elements, talking about none other than war, you're gonna really enjoy Fellwinter. Night of the Blood, standout songs like Black Eternity, Blood and Silver, Warriors in the Night, and Astral Blood. So damn good. This album is spectacular, the artwork is weird, it's just a raw black metal album for 2022, and if you like that raw black metal stuff, something that Music of Destruction worships, you're gonna really enjoy Night of the Blood by Fellwinter. Just a solid LP through and through with some piercing guitars and piercing vocals with some very beautiful traditional folk metal elements. But yeah, Night of the Blood, Fellwinter, solid as anything. Raw black metal, give me more. I'm gonna give this an 82%. Next up, we're talking about Blackwater Drowning, Sonder Satori. So originally I thought this was going to be a doom metal album, and I saved this album through Apple Music, but I was pleasantly surprised and pleasantly shocked that this was none other than a melodic death metal album with elements of that chorish flavor, with elements of some intense breakdowns on this. Like, there are some really good breakdowns on this. Blackwater Drowning, Sonder Satori, fantastic, it's fun, it's energetic, it's in your face. The vocals are very aggressive in tone, dominant guitar riffs on this, the drumming is spectacular, tight little fills you are getting. This album runs about 32 minutes and it's quite piercing, strong, and in your face. Songs like The Fifth Element, Mortal Coil, Snake Juice, The Cage is a fantastic song overall, and Voyager to end off the album. It's a hard-hitting, just impactful album. There are some doom metal elements on this for sure. Like, they do play around with a lot of genres, and they do have a chorish sound to it, but I'd say it's more mellow death than anything. Like, the melodies really do get stuck in your head. Nothing much I can say. Blackwater Drowning, Sonder Satori, if you like melodic death metal. If you like the extreme side of melodic death metal, Sonder Satori, I will give this a 75%. Finally, to end off this discovery, here's our main event. An album that a lot of people haven't been talking to you about. But I feel that this is a very important LP in the year 2022 that everyone that likes experimental black metal, avant-garde black metal, to check out this brand new album that was released a few days ago. It's Scarcity and the album, or is it Scarcity and the album Aveilut. What can I say? If you like Oranzi Pazuzu, if you even like Imperial Triumphant, if you like Deathspell and Mega, if you like a lot of those experimental avant-garde bands, you're gonna really enjoy Scarcity. So basically it's 45 minutes and it's just one song. The melodies are absolutely fantastic on this. The instrumentals have that very dirty and murky flavor to them. The guitars are really good. The drums are thunderous at times. It meanders a bit this LP, but it works overall. It's very atmospheric, it's very evil, sounds very devilish, and it is such a finely calibrated and well-focused album. It's got some even noise elements to it, but it mainly focuses on that black metal aesthetic. There's even some death metal elements on it, especially through track 3 and track 2, but those harrowing vocals are really present. Harrowing black metal vocals are really present throughout most of this album. But what really makes a surprise is the funeral doom elements that are presented throughout track 4. If you like some very slow, doomy, funeral doomy, similar to what Anoisium did with Horror Vacui, the song from Imperial and Pestilential Impulse, you're gonna really enjoy track 4 because it's an 8-minute slow track, slow ascending track towards the final track, which is track 5, which each track is numbered, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 basically. But track 5 is amazing, running about 13 minutes, and it's just full of flavor, this album, full of juicy flavor, very atmospheric, in your face at times, but blissful to listen to. It's got everything, this album, and this is why it's one of the most unique black metal albums of the year at the moment. It has got everything from sludge to doom to black metal to even death metal. It does play around with some very experimental factors such as the guitar tone and also some synths that build throughout this LP, and none other than noise elements. There is a lot of noise and fuzziness and static on this album, but it works overall. And it's such an exceptional, well-accomplished album that I gotta get Scarcity, Aveilut, a high appraisal. I think it's the debut album. Intense, in-your-face black metal album with just so many genres presented. Interesting, impactful, extreme metal album to sink your teeth in 2022. One of my favorite albums of this month, one of my favorite albums of the year at the moment. I really do enjoy it. I can't stop listening. I'm gonna give this a very enthusiastic 90%. Fantastic noise black metal album. So yeah guys, that's it for Discovery for this week. Hope you guys did enjoy it. So join me next week for Discovery as we discuss some more great underground gems. We'll try and talk about some heavy metal on the next Discovery, some power metal, maybe some metalcore, maybe some progressive metal, maybe some black metal. We've talked a lot about black metal this Discovery. We talk a lot about death metal this Discovery. We might move away from that black and death metal for the next Discovery. I'm not too sure, but let me know what albums I have missed, and just give me some recommendations of what I should check out on the next Discovery. Keep discussions going in the comment section below, and I'll see you on the next Discovery.